We haven't started anything serious yet. In a Thursday speech to Russian parliament officials, President Vladimir Putin warned that the military has barely begun its operations in Ukraine, suggesting he sees a long fight possibly for all of Ukraine ahead. This was a direct challenge to the West, which continued to send arms to Kiev. It's one of the fiercest speeches and challenges to Western Ukraine backers since his February 24 invasion. The West wants to fight us until the last Ukrainian, he said, calling it a tragedy for the Ukrainian people. He then warned that Russia hasn't started anything serious yet. Today, we hear that they want to defeat us on the battlefield. Well, what can you say here? Let them try, Putin said, in a direct challenge to the US and NATO. At the same time, we don't reject peace talks. But those who reject them should know that the further it goes, the harder it will be for them to negotiate with us, he added. He said the West started the 2014 Donbass War. Putin said Russia's resistance to NATO hegemony has led to the birth of a multipolar world. This process cannot be stopped, he said. He warned Kiev and its Western allies that Moscow hasn't begun its military campaign in Ukraine in earnest. Putin also targeted Western domestic populations and hinted at BRICS countries' resistance to totalitarian liberalism. Putin said most countries did not want to follow the Western totalitarian liberalism model and hypocritical double standards. People in most countries do not want such a life and such a future, he said. They are simply tired of kneeling, humiliating themselves in front of those who consider themselves exceptional. Given that the Pentagon will add advanced and long-range weapons to Ukraine's arsenal this week, the Russia-NATO game of chicken looks to continue indefinitely. US, UK, and EU officials have called for domestic sacrifice. Biden said this will continue, as long as it takes. Putin's and his top national security officials' rhetoric has grown bolder after capturing Luhansk province and Ukraine's retreat from Lysychansk city. Russian troops and their Ukrainian separatist allies are expected to push to liberate all of the Donbass. A siege of Kramatorsk began this week. None of this bodes well for the already bleak near and long-term energy, food supply, and global economic outlook after the war. Given that the initial Russian invasion force numbered about 190,000 troops and that Russia has 900,000 active military members across land, sea, and air, plus 2 million reservists, Moscow has the manpower to sustain the war in Ukraine. Belarus may join, too. The Kremlin took a significant step toward putting its economy on a war footing this week. As Reuters reported, the Russian government will be able to compel businesses to supply the military with goods and make their employees work overtime under two laws to support Moscow's war in Ukraine.